Good morning. Just wanted to say I had some meetings this morning, and then this afternoon I have a class, I think, at 2 o'clock, I want to say. And yeah, this is a time that my brain is overactive. Well, it's usually overactive, or at least that's how I perceive it to be. And I'm sure a lot of you go through that too, where there's so much information that we take in, so much information we want to get out, and how do we go about that? And so I don't want to, I guess my MO would be I take a hostage and put all my eggs in their basket. And so part of what I'm doing is, you know, working on a more authentic relationships and honoring people, and that they are exactly like me. Um, that they have high points, low points. We're forever changing. We're all being exposed to a lot of seemingly external stimulus. Um, Asking ourselves questions, do we fight? Do we surrender? And what does that look like? So there's nothing that I could say here that I feel that each of us doesn't already know. There's a ancient wisdom, or the word that's written on our hearts, um, to know what to do in any situation that's baffling to us. But there's so much external chatter and so much investment in our own experiences, so much attachment. What's the other word that come to mind? Expectations in each of our lives. That it's that never-ending chase, and that never-ending chase. And so to sit still, or get a moment of clarity, peace, direction, can seem somewhat challenging. I don't remember offhand what they're calling themselves, but there's some Buddhist monks who, if you've been on my timeline, I've posted a few things there, and they started in Texas, and they're on a journey by foot to walk for peace. And it's been a joy seeing how they go about this, and the trials and tribulations that have happened along the way, and what do they do with these seeming adverse challenges. And it's a reflection, I think, no matter what I believe or disbelieve, or what I believe in or don't believe in. It's an example, like there's many examples, of how can I go about today? What can I do to bring something to the table, instead of taking from the table, or feeling that I lack something, that I just will never have enough of something. That seeming lack seems to cause a lot of suffering. At least for me, it seems to. The idea that we're separate, with separate issues, having separate problems, and that we have separate opinions, and that we're warring with each other after that. That also causes a lot of unrest, as I'm sure it does in many of us. And so, it's important to me, overall, to remember these ancient wisdoms, to try to tap in as often as I can, and to trust that God, the universe, has my back, and all of ours, and that we're welcome home anytime. I believe that I don't have to die to experience heaven on earth. I've had experiences that show me that's not, the truth, that I can have heaven here and now. Um, and then I choose to experience the world again. I've always related to that statement, being in the world but not of the world. And it's reflected in this life, in that my body, yesterday I went to a acupuncture specialist, provider, and it was as if I was meeting a friend from a long time ago. And I completely abandoned myself and trusted the whole process. And the reason I trusted the whole process is because I have really averted or avoided or disliked the body, and realized that that wasn't the way to go about it overall. And so it's shown its wear and tear through neglect, through overindulgences, many different forms. I found out also this last week, I think it was this last week, that I just have not cared for myself well as far as my teeth go. And I have different, they, tried to believe in me and had given me implants and, things of that nature, and fix this and fix that. And that was about, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago. And then not only back to square one, but lost an implant, fillings that the military had put in, however many years ago, a lot of years ago, had been compromised. So I said, it seems to me that the long-term solution is dentures, and asked them, how do we go about that? Because I'm 57, and if I hadn't taken care of my physical self this long, I don't think I'll be able to make that transformation, overnight. But God meets me where I'm at, and has a gentleness and a love and a compassion to meet me where I'm at. And I believe that's true for each of us, that wherever we're at in our journey, whether we're filled with rage or envy or despair, or surrounded by death or illness or things like that, that there's a knowing of what we're experiencing, that it doesn't have to be our experience. I spend a lot of this life initially blaming others, and then shifting all that blame to myself, and intermittently blaming a God of my misunderstanding, or a source, or a universal truth. I like one friend's definition. Gus is her definition of God, great universal spirit. And whatever we call it, the life that runs through all of us, that brings, instead of making things, things are being created. There's abundance, there's flow, there's life, there's vibrancy, there's eternal life. So I spent a lot of, like I said, blaming myself, blaming others, or blaming God. And blame and shame just don't work. They just don't work. And so where do I go from here? I like what a friend discovered. She had been to a psychic, and the psychic told her to be wary of 3 mortal enemies. So in the years after, she went looking for these mortal enemies, and come to find out that her mortal enemies were me, myself, and I. I love that story. And so I'm the only one getting in my own way. And I'm not to blame for that. This is just this experience, and I think we all experience it somewhat similarly, whatever that word is. And but if it's just me, myself, and I, it's a lot easier than fixing, managing, controlling my environment. So in my current environment, you can probably hear it. Seeming enemies, cats and dogs, have come together, and the dog is outnumbered, and there's mostly adult cats and one cat that had a recent litter. And I'm looking at this whole thing thinking, what an order, I can't go through with it. And the dog is one of the known toughest breeds to keep engaged, to not go awry, and it's a husky. And so instead of my old ideas about dogs and training dogs, or newer ideas, I'm newer to the cat thing, about what cats are about and how they're never going to meet and this sort of thing. I was observing the whole show this morning. And it's just like us, our seeming differences, our underlying hate of different ideas or groups or things of that nature that keep us seemingly separate. That there is an underlying commonality. And when I plug into that, there is a sense of ease, order, effortlessness. And that's how it's been the majority of this morning, once I asked for help to change my perception about what I believe about cats and dogs. So I do that a lot. Help me to see this differently. Help me to see it as it is. Help me to know what to do and what to say, things like that. And that's been helpful. There's so many stories going around, and part of that's actually been a blessing within my experience is sharing stories and finding commonality in stories that are shared in the form of like-minded groups. So whether it's like-minded spiritual group or recovery group, or even if it's a hobby of some sort, I like the group dynamics and finding common ground. And so and based on those stories, I've learned a lot about myself, a lot about others, and what's important to me and what's important to others, how others that have gone before me get through a challenge that I'm going through currently, how I can share that, and it can be helpful to somebody else. But there's so much beneath the stories that is so beautiful. And I'm discovering that more and more each day. Overall, underneath the stories, it seems as if others and myself are either extending love or help, or calling for love or help. And that keeps it simple for me. So if I'm hearing a person's story and it's disturbing me in some kind of way, or I feel attacked, or things like that, it's like, okay, wait a minute. What's underneath this story? Oh, that's a call for help. And sometimes, like myself, it could be like, help me, help me, help me. Would somebody help me? Any kind of help. I don't know what kind of help. I just need some help. And people that care want to extend help, but they don't have any idea where to even start. And so sometimes I can perceive that on the other end of that, where a person is like, notice me, notice me, notice me, help me, help me, help me, look at me, look at me, look at me, and it's like, okay, but where do you even start? And those simple acts of kindness and meeting someone where they're at, I know when people have extended simple acts of kindness and have met me where I was at, didn't join me, just sat with me, or observed or was present for me in my chaos, but didn't, buy into the chaos. And so that's been a gift to me. So I'd want to extend that gift, if possible, to somebody else. And so looking past the stories, a call for love or a call for help, or extending love or extending help, it makes my life a lot less complicated. And I love a Stephen King quote, which is kind of on the same topics. I'm either getting busy, says get busy living or get busy dying. And what am I doing? If am I getting ready for my toe tag and I think that it's all, what's the use anyways, and why even bother? Or am I being present in this moment and really noticing um, my surroundings, my brothers and sisters, those that are close to me or may live countries away, but I feel connected with, those that I don't feel connected with, that I feel are my nemesises, that I don't want to sit down and have a cup of tea with. What is going on, outside of me. So whatever I'm projecting, whatever, the stage that I'm projecting it onto, and I do believe that's what it is that according to my past, I have all these judgments and opinions, and I'm being shown exactly what I want, what I believe in, what I think is real. And so another friend had said, if you spot it, you got it. And so one example of that was I was in an attitudinal healing facilitator training, and they had us to write down whoever our nemesis was at the time, and at the time it was my mom. And we would write what qualities or actions on that person's part did we have a problem with. And then after that, we would cross out their name and put our own. It's like, if you spot it, you got it. And if you don't got it right now, you had it. And I really have found this to be true overall. Whatever I really rubs me the wrong way in somebody else is an unforgiveness towards myself or towards someone else, or something I haven't let go of in the past. And so it's truly not what's happening to me, but what's happening for me. Not what's happening to me, but what's happening for me. In the rearview mirror, that's easier to see. It's like, oh, I'm so glad that this, and that happened, or I would have never changed, or I would have never moved forward, or whatever, or I would have never met this person, or had this connection. It's a lot easier to see than when I'm in it. But I have found it to be, if I spot it, I got it, or I had it. And so then the focus again is back to me, myself, and I, which is a lot more doable than the entire sonship, daughtership world, and all of the perceived, chaos and problems and lack of solution and death and sickness and temporary nature of things. Scary stuff. And it's so easy to get caught in the story of scary stuff. And so I'm working on, and have worked on my whole life. And I think I answered that call very early on, but then I kept choosing to be, let's see, not of the world, but in it, in the world, and ignoring the truth about my actual purpose here. So I got to witness this last week. It was a reflection for me of how each of us individually can be walking in our purpose no matter what it is that we do or don't do, regardless of time, regardless of body, that it is a place that we can teach for the ego or teach for love, learn from the ego or learn from love. And so I got to meet, for example, when I went to the acupuncture location, the wife greeted me, and it was a sense of homecoming, ease, and comfort. The environment, if I could pick a heaven on earth environment, it would very much resemble that. And the gentle, non-invasive, welcoming nature of her was apparent. So once we did the initial paperwork, I got to meet her husband, and he was the practitioner, or is the practitioner. And again, it felt as if I had known them both, for a billion years or something, and that it was nice to be home, get off the battlefield, and be welcomed. That's how it felt. And so that day had been a messy day in general, messy in my thinking, messy in my body, a lot of aches and pains, those kind of things. And, it was just it felt like a divine appointment. And I think that all appointments are divine. Wherever we find ourselves meeting with people, whether I think I'm just going to go get some bread from the grocery store, or I have the class that I go to today, or so I have a timed appointment, or a happenstance. I'm minding my own business and somebody shows up, especially if it's somebody that I wouldn't want to sup with. If I'm aware enough, it's happening for me, not to me. It's an opportunity for something, something to extend, or something to learn, and an opportunity to teach for the Holy Spirit, or teach for the ego. And so I look forward to these divine appointments where an ancient hate can become a current love, where unforgiveness is realized and internalized for both parties. So it comes in so many different forms. But if I'm all about this world and this world only, and concerned with the invention of time and bodies, the making of time and bodies, I'm going to miss that mark. That's my favorite definition of sin, missing the mark. That sounds a whole lot better than some other definitions. So I've missed the mark, oopsie daisy. I've strayed off the path, time to get back on, those kind of things. I like that thinking works better for me. I would highly recommend letting go absolutely. And what does that look like? Having a vice grip and a controlling, managing, rebellious authority problem in general, and not trusting a higher authority, has got me into a lot of suffering. And again, for me, suffering, is having attachments to my way, expectations of how I thought it, think or it ought to go, and loosening those a bit. I don't. I often wonder, why am I still here in this experience? And I think overall, I don't want to leave anybody behind. Times that I felt I had been left behind or abandoned, there was always a hand. There was always a solution. There was always, um, you know, heaven here and now, right within my grasp. And we all know what it feels like to not have that. Utter isolation, the feeling that we're utterly alone, that there is no hope, that there is no God, things like that. And so, if any of you feel left behind, I want to assure you that you're not, that you're precious, that you're loved, that you're not forgotten, and you're welcome home anytime. I can have a touch and go or porcupine personality within this experience. And I'm working on having closer, more authentic communication and experiences with people. That's another recent revelation, by the way. When I got choked up just then, it was a combination of sorrow and gratitude at the same time, it felt like. And, vulnerability in the form of emotions, I have recently really believe and truly believe that is where, when I'm in a raw emotion, there is no ego present. I'm completely defenseless. I'm without defense, or the body's without defense. And so I may be behaving like a 13-year-old, or behaving like an angry veteran, or things like that, and shame myself for that. And I'm learning to honor that in myself and others. Because when I come to a place of vulnerability, I'm humbly before the universe, before my brothers and sisters, and ready to receive a solution to whatever's going on at that time. And so, in recovery circles, I heard a saying, we got some good news and bad news. We get to feel and we get to feel. And when someone else is feeling, the natural reaction of the ego is to shut it down. Not here. This is inappropriate. Oh, that's too much. Oh, you shouldn't share that kind of private stuff in this venue. Things like that. Oh, this makes me uncomfortable. I don't know what to do with this. Just stop it, please. Stop it altogether. Same thing with grief. Aren't you over that already? What's your problem? Get over it. And I'll say that to myself or think that in others. And I realized that I've missed the mark. I've made a boo-boo, a mistake, that is a precious temporary moment where a shift can occur, from hell to heaven, really, and or from bondage to freedom, or from feeling disconnected to feeling connected to all things. And so it's okay. You're loved, you're valued, you're heard. And I hope that you take that in I hope that you all know that you're the Holy Son of God, in whom He's well pleased. And if you don't, hold on. It's a bumpy ride. But I really believe you'll know this, and you'll know this soon. So with that, with ramblings, that's the longest I've talked in a while, and so I'll shut it down. So I know it's a lot of ramblings and all over the place, but hopefully you feel the overall content and intentions of my heart, and know that, above all else, I am remembering I'm never alone, and neither is anybody surrounding me, that we're all connected, and that we can't sever from each other, and we can't sever from our source. And no matter what we've done or we're getting ready to do, and trying to make that happen or have that be accomplished, we won't be successful. So in the end and in the beginning, there are no big deals, and it all works out. So that's the good news and the bad news. There are no big deals, and there are no big deals. Well, until we meet again, love y'all. Have a beautiful Friday. Okay.